Hi everyone, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my March TBR. I will say I have not filmed a video in a while. I was on vacation and stuff, so I had pre-filmed a lot of stuff. So this is the first video I'm filming in like a few weeks, like maybe close to a month. So if I'm a little rusty, that's why. My February month of reading was kind of I kind of went through a little bit of a reading slump. I kept continually reading. I just wasn't feeling super connected to anything I was reading. I was reading really slow, so I didn't get a lot of books read, and out of the ones I did get read, none of them I like really loved. So I'm hoping that with March I can kind of turn that around. And the way I'm trying to do that is I'm going to read my buddy reads I have, but give myself the space to have a lot of room for mood reads. So I have a few that are definitely I'm gonna read in this month of March, and then I have a separate list that is like an MBR, some books I'm considering as mood reads for later in the month, and so all of those can change depending on how I feel. I'm hoping that by giving myself the space to read whatever I want, I will kind of get back in the swing of things. The beginning of this year, as you guys know, has been full of buddy reads and full of read-alongs and stuff, so I think that my brain has just kind of felt overwhelmed with priorities. So I'm really hoping that by throwing in some of these shorter books or series that I have taken a long pause on that I want to get back into and I just haven't had the time, I'm hoping that I will be able to kind of get out of this reading slump and really start to love what I'm reading again and really try to like get through books again. All right, guys, I did it again. I forgot to mention my 12 books by 12 booktubers book. So I spun my wheel again. Here it is, spinning the wheel. And I got Kindred by Octavia Butler. This was recommended to me by Joanna. So thank you, Joanna, for the recommendation. I will also be reading this in March for sure. This is one of my, I will definitely be reading, but this does not feel like a burden because I'm very excited to read this. I know a lot of friends that recently read it, so I am pumped for this. So that is happening this month. Sorry, I forgot it again. On with the regular programming. First up is a book I'm currently reading and hoping to finish today, but it will be finished in March. That is Dead House Gates by Steven Erikson. I am close to done with this. I'm like 83% into it. I'm reading it on my e-reader because the typeface in this is like buck wild. It's like really bold and tiny and the margins are small. So I knew this would be not a fun reading experience for me. So I got a library copy on my Kobo and I'm reading it on there. But so far, I'm really loving this book. I'm still finding that there is a lot of the like contextual confusion that I had with Gardens of the Moon. I'm following enough of it that I'm having a good time. The last chunk so far has been absolutely wild. I felt like it slumped a little bit in the beginning, but I don't know if that is an objective slump or if that is because I've been in a reading slump. I just really wasn't feeling any book at the time, so I think that's probably more what it was. But I've slowly been getting back into the swing of reading, and I've been loving what I've been reading the past few days. So hoping to finish this today. It's been popping off. It's been going off the rails. It has been wild. So I'm very excited to continue. If you don't know about this book and this series, it is the series is called Malazan, Book of the Fallen, and I am hosting a read-along along with Alex over on Tall Guy Reads, Ian from Ian the Reader, and Josh from Red Fury Books. We are doing one book every like 2 months or so because they get very big later on and because they're very dense material. It's kind of confusing story. So we recently did our Gardens of the Moon live stream where we had AP over from The Critical Dragon on, and we just kind of talked about our thoughts and feelings of Gardens of the Moon. And now we are reading Dead House Gates, and this live show will be probably beginning of April. So overall, this read-along so far has been a lot of fun. There's a lot of people that have joined with us, and I am really enjoying it. I'm glad we're doing it. This series it's kind of hard to describe, but it has a lot of magic. It has a very complex plot, a huge world, a lot of characters. The basic premise is there is this empire that is trying to basically take over as much as much as they can. And it's kind of like the people that are fighting back against that. That's the general premise. There's a lot of magic, a lot of complex magic. There's magical creatures. There's different fantasy races. It is a very, very vast story, and it's a lot of fun. I think that a lot of the hesitation I had going into it is kind of like all the preconceived notions I have about it, because it's always described as very complex and dense and hard to get through. And I really think that if you just relax and kind of go with the flow, ride the vibes, you will enjoy this story, even if you aren't understanding it all. You just have to accept that you're not going to know every twist and turn of the story and what it means until later, but you have to trust in the process, trust in Steven Erikson to kind of get you through it. And I think if you can do that, you will really enjoy this series. Next up is an audiobook I recently checked out from my library, so I have to read it this month, and that is Ghost Boy by Martin Pistorius. This is a nonfiction memoir. I don't know a whole lot about it because with these books I kind of tried to go into them blind with nonfiction books in general. From what I know, it is about a young boy who is, I believe, misdiagnosed and has to kind of like grapple with what's going on with him. I'm trying to read more memoirs this year. I've always been very into nonfiction books, but I've mostly always read nonfiction books about like political justice and American political issues. And I'm trying to read more memoirs because I feel like getting a story about a person's life from their point of view is a much more personal way and a way to allow more empathy when you're reading from an actual person's point of view as opposed to stats and figures and stuff. So I'm trying to kind of broaden my nonfiction horizons to kind of get the more personal look at. I especially want to read memoirs of marginalized people just to kind of get a better understanding of the different struggles different groups of people go through, because I only have my limited view of the world, and I think it's very important to branch out and see what other people see the world as and how they interact with the world. So I'm trying to read more memoirs is the gist of this. So this is one, and I am excited to get to it. Next up is another audiobook I've checked out already, and that is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. This is a fantasy series called The Rook and the Rose, I believe. I've heard a lot about this. I've just been putting it off for a long time because I don't own it. This is a book I've kind of been putting off just because I didn't own it and my library didn't have it. But I recently got a new library card and they had the audiobook, so I checked it out. So I'm going to be giving this a shot. It is a story about a woman who is infiltrating like the aristocracy of this country, realm, whatever, and she quickly learns that it is not what it seems and no one is as they seem, and it sounds really intriguing and it sounds like something right up my alley, so I am excited to get to it. I've heard pretty good things about it. I know that Elliot Brooks is a big fan of the series. I don't see a whole lot of people talking about it, and I don't know if that's because it's not great or if just not a lot of booktubers have read it or what, but I'm excited to read it. I have high hopes. It sounds like something that I will like. Next up is another buddy read, and that is Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. Me, Alex from Tall Guy Reads, and Kyle from Read by Kyle are kind of buddy reading this series in preparation for the new one coming out. Alex, this is a reread for him, and me and Kyle, this is our first time through. I read Red Rising in February, and I will talk more about my thoughts on that in my February wrap-up, but I'm excited for Golden Sun. Red Rising was technically a reread for me, and then I started Golden Sun and DNF'd it. But I think the audiobooks were really my biggest problem. So I read Red Rising physically this time. And again, I'll get more into my thoughts in my wrap up. But Golden Sun, I'm excited for. I have high hopes. The thing I didn't like most in Red Rising is over. So I'm hoping that with Golden Sun, as the world expands and as we kind of get more in-depth looks with these characters, that I will like it more. I'm also hoping that Darrow is less annoying. One of my biggest problems with Red Rising is how annoying Darrow is. So I'm hoping that as he matures and gets older and kind of gets more ingrained in this society, that he will be less annoying. But the basic premise of this story is humans have colonized space, and they have separated the world into different factions based on color. So there are golds, there are blues, there are whatever. So golds are the highest and reds are the lowest. And Darrow is a red who has experienced a lot of injustices in his life, and he is recruited by a secret organization that is trying to topple this hierarchy. So they turn him into a gold and send him off to this like training. And so you just kind of, from what I've read, we've just started this ingratiation. And so I am excited to continue. I think that the premise is interesting. I just hope that Darrow becomes more likable and we get more of those cool sci-fi elements. Next up is one that is also a read-along, but it's one that if I were to ditch one of the read-alongs, this is the one I would, not for good, I would just temporarily put it off because right now I'm not in the mood for it and it's a chunker. And that is A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin. This is the third book in a Game of Thrones series, and I have been participating in this read-along, but these books are really long and they take me a lot of time. And lately I've been reading a lot of books that are really long and that are taking me a lot of time, and it's honestly started to feel very draining. So this is a book that I would probably put down or just not pick up this month and just I'll just kind of delay myself on this read along. I'll just be behind and I'll just accept that. I do still really want to read this. I just want to make sure I'm in the right headspace and I'm in the mood to read it before I get to it. Especially because this is everyone's favorite of the series and so many people say this is the best fantasy book ever written. I've read it before, but again, it was, as I've talked about in other videos, it was way before I started reading a lot of adult fantasy, so I just don't think I was ready for a story this complex and dark. So overall, excited to read this. It may not happen in March though, because I want to wait until I'm in the right mood to read it, because if not, I will just dislike it and I will be upset. So I want to be in a space where I'm ready to read a long book and I'm ready to be in this world again. Last up on my priority list is another one that might end up getting pushed, but I'm really excited for it, so probably not. I'll at least start it in March, I believe, and that is Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the last series of The Realm of the Elderlings. I am so excited and so nervous to continue with this because I know that this last series is gonna be a punch in the gut. Also, they are all huge. I'm loosely buddy reading this with Alex on Tall Guy Reads. We've kind of been reading The Realm of the Elderlings together, and we're both trying to start the first one at least in March. I'm very excited for this book. I don't know a whole lot about what is going to happen in this series. I don't want to get into a lot of it because this is the last series in a very large overarching world and it will spoil anything if I talk about literally anything in this book. Besides, it is called the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, so we at least know Fitz and the Fool are in it. Other than that, I can't say anything else because it will spoil things, but I'm really excited to read this series. Robin Hobb has quickly become one of my top 3 authors. She's one of the best character authors in fantasy, if not in fiction in general. She is honestly just a master. So excited to read this series. I'm also nervous because I'm gonna be done with The Realm of the Elderlings and that is terrifying, but also I'm so excited to see how it ends. So really pumped to get to this book. We'll see how it goes. Now for my MBR. Most of these are books that are continuations of series that I've just put off for a long time because of all these buddy reads and read-alongs that I'm hoping if I continue these series that I'm excited about, I will kind of pull myself out of this slump. And the first one is The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the second book in the Lord of the Rings series, and I am a bad fantasy reader and I have not read this series yet. So I need to get to this. I read The Fellowship of the Ring, I believe in January, and actually really enjoyed it. And I'm really excited to get to this. I just haven't had the chance because February was a rough month. So I'm hoping that this month, this can be one of those mood reads I throw in because I want to get to it. I just haven't had the time. So I'm making the time this month to commit to less and read more of what I really want to read. So excited to get to this. I'm not going to go into what the plot of The Lord of the Rings is because if you don't know, where have you been? So excited to get to this. There is a dragon on the cover, so like we all know my thoughts on dragons. I love dragons, so excited for that. Also, these editions are stunning. I love them so much. So yeah, hopefully I get to this in March. Another MBR read is Proven Guilty by Jim Butcher. This is the 8th book in the Dresden Files. I'm not totally sure on that. It's one of the Dresden Files books. As a lot of you know, I almost DNF'd this series, but then was convinced to continue and just skip some of the books that my friend Kyle did not think I would like. So I've read 1, 5, and 7 so far. That's why I think this is 8. I liked 7 a lot more than number 1. After reading the first book, I was certain I was not going to continue the series. So 5 and 7 have definitely been better, and I'm excited to continue on, and maybe if I really love the rest of the series, one day I'll go back and read the ones I skipped, just for more context. But it was between DNFing the series or skipping some books, so I skipped some books because I've heard that the series gets absolutely wild as you continue. Also, these books are pretty small, so it can be a quick mood read throw in between some of these larger, chunkier books I'm reading this month. So, excited for this one. Hope I get to it. Another possible mood read I could throw in is the second book in the Legend of Drizzt by R.A. Salvatore. The second one being Exile. This is an omnibus of the first 3 books, so they're not all this chunky. I really liked Homeland. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was very classical. It had a lot of typical fantasy tropes, but it was just really refreshing. It was really fun. It was a fun take on a lot of those tropes, and it's all based on like the D&D world, so like that was really fun. So I'm excited to get to this. This is part of the Forgotten Realms overall series. The Legend of Drizzt has like over 20 books in it, but they're all pretty small, and it's just a series I want to like slowly get through. They are more like easy reads or refreshing reads, but they're still really good. They're still really fun. So I'm hoping I can throw these in, kind of sprinkle them in at busier times or just in between really large books. So I'm hoping I can get to Exile in March. And that is all of the books I have to read and hope to read in March. I'm trying to give myself the space to have a better reading month in February. February didn't go so well, and I miss being excited about reading because some of those books were not exciting or I just didn't have time to read. So I'm hoping that this month I'll have more time to read and I will enjoy what I'm reading more. Thank you guys for watching. If you could please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down below what you plan on reading in March. If you really like my content, please hit the notification bell to be notified every time I post new videos. As always, your support means the world to me, and until next time, thank you guys.